What's up, guys? I want to go over how to properly install forks and front suspension here. And there's actually, I have a very specific and preferred method. Um, I mean, some people they can install it, but when they tighten these things down, they might tighten it in a different sequence, in a sequence that doesn't um, that causes issues, especially with the casted triple trees. These are the CNC ones, but some of the casted ones, when they break, it's probably because they installed it incorrectly. So what I do is, first, obviously you install the triple tree first without the forks. Um, what I do is I don't tighten both of these guys just yet. um, and the reason why I don't do that is because these two need to be able to line up. The center of this guy needs to be able to line up with the center of this, and without the tubes here, it's very difficult to be able to gauge whether or not the tube will slide right in perfectly. So you want to leave these just slightly loose, but not to a point where there's a lot of slack up, down, up at the top and at the bottom here. And then what I do is I stick the tubes in and I tighten only the top. I tighten only the top, and I leave I leave the bottom part slightly loose. And the reason why I do that is because now, when you tighten the top, now you have the triple clamps aligned. This is still kind of moving. You can still kind of slide this up and down because there's still going to be space here. It's not fully tightened. So after you tighten the tubes, after you slide the tubes into the triple tree, and you tighten the top parts, now what you do is you crank. Now what you do is you crank this. You tighten these two guys so that you pull these two together. Now, when you tighten these guys, it's completely aligned. When you tighten it, it should still be able to move because this bottom tree hasn't been tightened yet. Only the top part. And then finally, you tighten the bottom one. So the sequence goes: you install the triple tree, but you don't fully tighten it. You kind of leave it a little bit loose so they can still kind of rotate. This can rotate clockwise, and this can rotate counterclockwise, so that you can stick the tubes in so that it's fully aligned. So step number one, install the triple tree, but leave it a little loose. Step number two is install the tubes, run the tubes through both of the triple trees here, and tighten only the top part. And then step number three, now you tighten the triple trees. Now you pull them together because now they're aligned. And then step number four, what you do is you tighten the bottom one. So when you do that, you now have no more play at the top and the bottom, and it's also aligned. And the reason why you want to follow this sequence is because, for example, if you, if this is still a little loose, and if this is already tight, and then you stick this thing in here, but these guys aren't able to pivot freely like this, your forks aren't going to be aligned. So that can be a potential problem. Another problem is if you, for example, if these are still loose and you tighten the top and you tighten the bottom triple tree, now the clamps are completely tied up against the fork, but this is still loose. So if this is tight, this is tight, this is tight, and this is tight, and then you begin to tighten these guys, what you're going to do is you're going to begin to forcefully kind of pull these things together, and it causes a lot of stress up at these areas over here. Because if you think about it, when these guys are tight, these don't want to move. These don't want to move in towards each other, and these don't want to move out. However, if there's still space in there and you begin to try to tighten it this way, now you're basically forcing these guys further in. And that's, I think, the reason why a lot of these casted ones are breaking is because some of these guys are installing it in a sequence which, what do they call it? We call it over constrained. Anyway, so that's the sequence I generally install my triple trees and my forks. It's a very prescribed method, and that's what I generally do on all of them. just to recap, I first loosely install these so that they can still pivot. That's step number one. Step number two is I slide the forks in so that it aligns the triple tree clamps. Step number three, I tighten the top part only. Um, Step number four, I tighten the I tighten the triple tree. I pull these guys together, and then the very last step, I tighten the bottom tree. So yeah, that's what I think is the mechanically sound way to install the front suspension.